Welcome back to the Office Marketing Podcast with Mike Swigert, the podcast all about sales tips, mindset, and value bombs. 5 questions to help make your day more productive and learn a thing or two. Here is your host, best-selling author, Mike Swigert.
Hey everybody, I am here with Stuart Magruder. He joins us from sunny Los Angeles, Southern California. So anybody that's listening to this in the Northeast, please don't hold it against him. He is a talented architect. We're going to get into that a lot today. He is the founder and principal of Studio Nova A Architects. They really pride themselves on their contemporary and sustainable designs for the residential and commercial space. And Stuart, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to jump on.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Mike. Eager to chat.
Well, Stuart, I actually really enjoyed our pre-talk. I feel badly that we didn't record it because I think people would have enjoyed it. But why don't you kind of walk us through your path? You know, walk me all the way from the point of I'm crazy enough to want to go to architecture school and then actually to where you are today. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, Stuart. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mike. As an undergrad at Princeton University, I was not sure what to major in and took a survey course on architecture that kind of really blew my mind. I was big into photography at the time. And so photography was kind of my way into the arts and then into architecture. So I majored in architecture at Princeton. Kind of had a love-hate relationship with it initially. It was kind of, the architecture, as you said, school aspect is true and probably not that helpful in the end. So I decided to not do architecture right away, and I graduated and went to New York City and worked in advertising for 4 years on Madison Avenue, working for a couple of big firms and doing advertising for Michelin tires and Hershey chocolate. That ended up being fun, but I realized not where I wanted to be long-term. So I applied to grad school, came out to Los Angeles to go to a school called the Southern California Institute of Architecture, SciArc. Kind of a zany, do anything you want school, put a hole in the wall as long as you patch it when you're done type of place. So it was very different from kind of the stodgy Princeton experience. And I really loved it. It was, a real immersion in all things design and architecture and building, a lot of work in the model shop. That was great. So I did a lot of work with my hands, which I'd done historically. I was a big woodworker from kind of middle school on. Did a lot of things with my hands. So the school was great about being really get in there, draw stuff, but also make stuff to prove your ideas and see that the challenges of putting two things together. It's not as easy as it might appear.
Okay, yeah, that's great, Stuart. But now you actually ended up having to apply these awesome hole-in-wall skills, right? Like
exactly.
How did we get there?
Well, it was, so I went through SciArc and got a lot of interest from one of my teachers, and ended up working for a guy named Eric Owen Moss, who's a really challenging architect. He does what I would call a lot of non-Euclidean stuff. So everything is tilted and twisted and warped. It's not really what I like visually, but it's incredibly hard to draw, which is what I had to do. And so I learned how to really draw at a really high level. When my son showed up 21 years ago, I needed to work at a slightly more humane place. And I went to work for a guy named Richard Meyer, who was the architect of the Getty Center, the architect of the High Museum in New York City in Atlanta, and a little bit discredited now with a lot of Me Too problems, unfortunately, but a really great architect to learn at least the craft from, if not business practices. So I worked there for 6 years, and then in 2005, I started my business. And been on my own since then. And I decided fairly early on that I wanted to stay as a solo practitioner, even though I'm incorporated, but I stayed small so that I could keep my hands in everything. So I design everything, I draw everything. So I really know my client's work intimately. And then when I'm out there on site, talking with contractors, trying to figure out issues they might have, I really understand A, how to build, and B, how we're trying to achieve the design ideas I got on paper. So
I love it. I love it. So what's your favorite part about your job right now?
Oh gosh, I just completed a big update of my website, and I added a lot of 3D model imagery to it, and that can be a fun, really fun process. I found my clients love the models I do for them because we can turn on the sun, and we're located, in the right geography or the right location on the globe, so they can see what it's like in August or in December, in the design I'm proposing. And I also get a great feel for, how does this thing work? How does it interact with whatever might be there in terms of context, whether it's neighboring houses or if it's an addition, the house that we're improving. So the 3D modeling is a lot of fun. And then, to be honest, the real fun stuff is when you're watching it get built and you're working with the contractor and you're seeing them take your work, and hopefully you've drawn it well enough so they can understand it. But you're working with them and you're seeing something you've just looked at on 2D, even though it may be 3D in the computer, it's really 2D on the screen. You see it go from 2D into reality. And of course, I'm drawing things really small and reality is reality. So it's a huge scale change. And that's really satisfying.
I love that. That's actually one thing. I started my own business 3 years ago, and I'm not hands-on with clients doing projects anymore. And I miss working with architects because a lot of times they'll always be like, or an interiors person, and they'll be like one space. They want it to be really sexy. And it was maybe a cafe or a meeting space or an executive boardroom or whatever it was, for an interior. And we kind of would just kind of like fall in love with the space. Be like, this is going to be the space. We're going to do this with the chairs and this with the light and da-da-da-da. And then when it comes together, there's just, I don't know. It's just it just really scratches an itch that I miss not doing. So I've just, I renovated every room in my house no, I'm just kidding. Hey, if somebody was looking to do a project, whether it be, residential or commercial, right? What's great advice you can give them on the early stages? They haven't even picked their team yet. They're thinking about it. What's some great advice you could give them?
Well, the two most important things a client needs to have a handle on are what do they want to do, or what I would call what's your program. So in my world, do you want to add a master suite to the house? Do you want to build a new house that has 4 bedrooms? What is it you want to do kind of in the nuts and bolts, just simple description? That actually can be more complex than people realize. So, there may be things that you want to do, but they preclude you from doing something else. And so you have some conflicts you need to resolve. And then you need to know how much money you want to spend. One of the challenges in my business is I'm kind of leading tip of the spear of what is typically the biggest cost in any individual or organization's life. Building a building is the most expensive single thing anybody does. So it's a very daunting and important task. And there's, there's a lot of concern about making sure that you get what you're paying for, because it's a lot of money. So having an idea of how much you actually want to spend, and then having an idea of what you want to do are the two kind of key things that I need from a client. And then the best thing that I can get from a client is if they realize that we're a team together, and that our success in this project will depend on, how much we trust each other. A lot of what I do initially, I don't have any idea in the design what the final result's going to be. It's always for me a process. So I'm kind of conceptually, my eyes are closed and I'm stepping off a cliff with the client. So we need to trust each other, as much as the clients can feel like they trust their architect, the better, and that usually allows the architect to do the better work for them. So it's kind of three pieces to the stool, I guess, of a good project. One would be your program, what you want to do. Second would be how much money do you have to spend on it. And the third would be trusting your team or trusting your architect.
This episode of the Office Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Fusion Advisory. We help commercial contractors generate leads online profitably. Check us out at fusion-advisory.com.
I like it. I actually lived in that world of once you understood the budget, I will make this as amazing as I possibly can inside that budget.
Right.
And the only reason we're going over is because you absolutely insisted on going over budget.
Right.
It's funny because clients, they really like it when people stay on budget and it's still beautiful. Funny thing about that,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
It's a hard one.
I think you've told us so much about yourself already, but what's something that not everybody knows about Stuart Magruder?
Oh gosh, one fun kind of time when I was in high school, right before senior year, I worked for an outfit called Marine World Africa USA up in Northern California, near Silicon Valley. And I worked in jungle theater with 12 African lions, 10 Bengal tigers, and 6 Asian elephants. And I, along with the other folks in jungle theater, by and large, were cleaning up and feeding these animals, all for this one trainer who was probably one of the best trainers of lions and tigers ever, a guy named Ron Whitfield. So just an amazing experience being around these extremely beautiful, powerful, intelligent animals, and very well taken care of. So I think it was great fun.
Is that why you
didn't
still
smell too good at the end of the day?
I'm guessing that's why you still go as Siegfried or Roy every year for Halloween. Is that kind of still your thing?
I do pull that off pretty well. So yeah, a white wig, I'm in.
Exactly. Rest their souls. Rest their sweet souls. So,
Right. Right.
All right. Now I'm really excited about this question because I don't get a lot of people from California on the podcast. So I like asking a mindset question. So I don't know if you're going to go to not to mock Southern Californians, but I'm sure there's going to be either a crystal or some sort of organic mushroom or something involved in your mindset strategy. But walk us through it, Stuart. What do you do to kind of stay positive?
Well, yeah, I kind of thought about that a bit, and kind of 3 things I try to do. The first is I just try to put in the work, and the minute I've put in the work on a project, I feel like I've tried to answer all the possible contingencies, at least up ahead of time. That I can feel very comfortable about, doing what I can. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect, but if I put in the work and I really try to meet the challenges the client has, then I feel really good about, what I've done. So that's kind of the first piece is not skirting just the hard, cold reality of having to put in the time and really investigate a problem fully. The other thing, especially kind of helpful right now in all the pandemic craziness that we've got, is kind of keeping my eye on the horizon. It's really important not to get too down when, things ebb in terms of your business flow. It's also important not to get too excited when you're killing it. You really need to need to allow for ups and downs, and also just kind of see that sequence, that rhythm, I think, to workflow and life really being, it's not static, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And don't get too low when it's low, don't get too high when it's high. And just kind of enjoy the fact that things change. And, now I've seen a couple tough business cycles. The 2008 business cycle was really tough in my business. This one seems like it might be getting a little tough on my in the architectural world, just from what I'm seeing in some kind of leading economic indicators around architectural billings, as they call it. but you're just understanding that, you're going to ride it out, so you don't panic and you just kind of stick with it. So that would be kind of the second thing, is just kind of staying level. And then the third is, and we talked earlier just about stuff we do that isn't work related. I think it's really important to not be connected. I don't check email on my phone. I work in an office here, and when I leave the office, I try to let the work stuff go in terms of a pressing immediate need. I don't succeed all the time, but I try to let that go. And, I really focus on staying active physically, which is, very easy to do here in Southern California. Do a lot of bike riding and play beach volleyball and lift a little bit of weights and that sort of thing. And that time makes it much easier for me to work efficiently. If I'm physically kind of connected to myself, the mental work I need to do to be a good architect comes much easier. So
I love it.
The need to unplug, I think, is something that,
I like that a lot. I think that's great advice no matter who, right? So take care of your proverbial stuff, right? Number one, and then, keep your eye on the horizon. That's it's so funny you should say that. I was driving back with my kids. My son had a golf tournament yesterday down in the southern part of the state, and we're coming back, and my 8-year-old's going, "Oh, Dad, I think I'm getting a little car sick." And my son immediately knew what I was going to say. And I literally said, "Put your eyes on the horizon."
Right.
And it's funny how when you're starting to feel a little queasy, get your eyes on the horizon, your bearings will balance out. And then next thing you know it, you forget that you were queasy.
Right. No, that's right.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I love it. I'm fully in line with you. Okay. I'm super excited. I don't know if you could share some of the quotes that you learned from some of the architects that you worked with in years past, because I know they were big personalities, and we do keep it non-explicit here on the podcast.
Right.
So share with us like a good piece of advice that you've ever been given, or you really like to share.
I think maybe the best advice I got, it wasn't necessarily from an architect, but and in a sense it was almost cultural advice as opposed to advice I got from one person in particular. I heard this from a number of folks, but the idea of "go west, young man" was really, for me, wrapped up a lot of things that were very helpful for me. I was kind of educated back east and went to work in New York City, as I mentioned earlier, after college. Coming to California was almost like a rebirth or renewal for me. I was born here, but moved away when I was very young. And moving back, I felt like, gosh, I'm at home. It felt like in my bones, like this is where I'm supposed to be. So, I've been very comfortable being here, living in this, what some would say is a crazy environment. And it's just worked. So for me, "go west, young man" was the best advice I've had, to date. I think, and again, it's about, following the ideas that inspire you. And that, to me, the Western lifestyle was a big part of that. And so far it's worked out.
All right, cool. Stuart, again, I just want to thank you for taking time. Your energy and charisma and creativity somehow is flowing across. We're about 3,500 miles apart probably, but I really did enjoy our time together. But if somebody else wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way to do it?
Well, they can check out my website, which is studionovaa.com. My email is there, info@studionovaa.com, 2 A's at the end. And, I'm also on LinkedIn under Stuart Magruder. So happy to connect through LinkedIn, or you can email me. I think my phone number is on the website as well. Probably why I get so many spam calls. But love to chat with anyone, talk about the profession, talk about projects they're looking at. Definitely.
Good stuff. No, I enjoyed it. I can't wait till our paths cross again. I'm sure you're one of those guys that I know we're going to be running into each other a bunch. So Thank you, Stuart, and we'll make it happen again.
Very good, Mike. Nice talking to you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Office Marketing Podcast. Be sure to join the conversation on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the episode, head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.